If you want to know if the narcissist is lying to you during the love bombing stage, it's a yes. But if you don't just want to immediately click off this video, I'm going to tell you what to look out for, and why in reality, a lot of the problems we deal with the narcissist with is just, yes, it's not okay to manipulate other people like the narcissist does, but a lot of it, as I've seen from other people who have told me about being manipulated by a narcissist, what I've seen in myself is that there are deficiencies in our awareness of who we are as people and who other people are, right? Because the straight up truth is, people who are aware of how they relate to people who are emotionally healthy, yes, normal, healthy people still get victimized by narcissists, but they don't hold on to that trauma. They don't turn their whole personality into, oh, I am now a victim of narcissistic abuse, like many of us have done and are doing right now. A lot of people, narcissists affect a lot of people's lives, and especially today, it's more and more common. But most people brush it off, most people go on about their lives without carrying around that trauma. They're not like us who are watching endless videos on narcissism and they can't get out of that stressful situation. And this all could have been avoided if in the beginning you would have noticed that it's not necessarily okay to love bomb someone, to, in first meeting them, the first few encounters, the first few dates with someone, even a friendship, you shouldn't give everything to them, right? You shouldn't be telling them that they're now your favorite person. You shouldn't be hanging out with them for 12 hours, for 3 days, for the first 3 days of knowing them. These can be healthy behaviors. These can be or normal behaviors, but a lot of our problems with dealing with a narcissist came from our judgments being kind of far off about them and about ourselves. And especially after dealing with them, we become very dysregulated in our sense of everything, our emotions, our sense of identity, how we relate to other people. And the narcissist is a manipulator. They are going to do things like that. I even noticed those things in myself because I was not the most emotionally regulated person. Whenever I got into relationships way before the narcissist, I would always give my all to that person. I would, a typical empath, I would really, really want to be with this person, and I'd shower them with gifts and attention, but all with good intentions. I wouldn't be doing it with some ulterior motive to think, okay, I'm going to love bomb them right now so in the future I could destroy their lives, kind of like a narcissist. It was done out of a whole host of other reasons, right? It can be called codependency. It can be called a bunch of things. But I wasn't doing it in a psychopathic, sociopathic, with ill intent, like a narcissist. And if the narcissist is gonna lie all the time, but at the beginning of the thing is, they mix truths with lies, and that's how they get you. But they call it intuition, people call it some kind of sixth sense. Most people who have dealt with a narcissist will say that something felt off, and that is something that's gotten me to a very good place in life, and it's gotten me very emotionally healthy in terms of just living the day-to-day life now. Is I trust my gut, I trust my instinct. I noticed that a lot in the situation with the narcissist and in all areas of life. It's that kind of gut feeling. Sometimes it's a voice in your head that tells you, I shouldn't be doing this, right? It's your conscience. And that is something narcissists, if they, it's impossible to reach into someone's head and know what they're thinking, but it's believed that narcissists either don't listen to it or they don't have a conscience, especially someone who they've done scientific study on someone who's more sociopathic or psychopathic. you can see that they are the parts of their brain that light up when that says you shouldn't hurt this person, you shouldn't do this awful horrific crime. They don't feel it. It's like they can even beat lie detector tests because they have no empathy. They don't have that ability. Narcissists aren't that far gone. They aren't. Every psychopath, they say, is a narcissist, but not every narcissist is a psychopath, right? They're not Ted Bundy. Like, if they were, I wouldn't be making this video, you wouldn't be watching this video. But just like those awful psychopaths, in the beginning, they mix truth with lies, and they're gonna tell you and see, a narcissist, that's the sad thing about a narcissist. They are in this limbo state where sometimes they kind of do like you, but they, in a messed up way. They like what you do for them. They like you in this very transactional way, but it's not all evil as a lot of the people on YouTube will say, and they get it wrong. The narcissist isn't this evil machine like a Ted Bundy or like one of those people. They genuinely kind of, they like you. That's why in the beginning, but it's also lies, and they also embellish the truth, and they are also faking emotion. That's a big thing too. There's like a lot of things where, like, the lack of empathy, they've learned to lie and like kind of show empathy. They've seen other people do empathy, and they kind of do like the steps and procedures of empathy, but they don't feel it, right? They can't really put themselves in other people's shoes, and that comes from the lack of sense of identity, right? Like, if you don't know who you are, then you're not even gonna be able to put yourself into someone else's shoes and know what they're going through. So at the beginning, it's gonna confuse you. It's always gonna confuse you because that's what it's meant to do. They do get into relationships looking for something. So from the beginning, it's already off to a bad start. It's off to a bad start, and they're in it to win it. They're in it to deceive you, but at that same time, they need you. Honestly, the narcissist, as trauma bonded as you might be to this person, they need you more than you need them. That's why they had to. You don't have to lie to people and do all those awful things in order for people to come into your space. It's not something you do because you don't need people that bad. The narcissist needs people so badly that they have to lie, cheat, and steal their way into friend groups, relationships, everything. They are addicts of narcissistic supply, and following in the personalities of other addicts, they will do all sorts of awful things. But in a sense, it's like kind of like if someone is a drug addict, they genuinely want that drug, and they probably even have like some kind of love for that drug, as messed up as that might sound. That's kind of how the narcissist sees you, right? You're their dealer. It's kind of like they like you, but they kind of just like you because you got the stuff. Like, it's not because they genuinely want an equal relationship with you. And in the beginning, they kind of believe their own lies too, right? If someone who lies that much is also lying to themselves, and they're not grounded in reality. They idealize you, and this is again why they get into relationships with all sorts of people. And that's one of the hardest things about dealing with a narcissist that gets to people as well. It could have been you, it could have been anybody. They do not discriminate on if you're good looking, if you're this or that. Supply is supply, and it's hard to accept that you were just another number on the narcissist list, but that's really what it was, right? The addict who it doesn't matter if he gets it from this dealer or that dealer, he's still getting the thing that he wants. It doesn't matter if it comes from this guy or that guy. Yes, I guess the analogy is pretty good because you can say, oh, that guy has better stuff, or this has better stuff, but in the end, it's all stuff, right? It's all the same. And that's how the narcissist sees you, and that's a big part of accepting the lies and not letting people manipulate you. And it comes from having a really being grounded in reality, not like the narcissist. Be grounded in reality. Know who you are, and it makes it harder for other people to steal your will, to steal your sense of identity, because that's kind of what the narcissist did. Because the type of person who gets addicted to dating a narcissist, who gets trauma bonded to them, they are people who give a lot of themselves. You have a good heart, but that gets you in trouble. You are putting yourself, empathy is putting yourself in other people's shoes. You're putting yourself way too much in that other person's shoes, to the point where you're wearing their clothes now. You have their identity, and that's why a lot of people become narcissistic and sociopathic after dating the narcissist, and why they get trauma bonded and even more dysregulated, and you feel like, just, if you really went through it with a narcissist and you're at the end stage of being with them, how you feel right now is very likely how the narcissist feels. And a lot of people end up doing a lot of the things that a narcissist would. They end up drinking, they end up being very risk-taking, that disordered, like frantic, I need this, I need that, I need to feel better right now, I need to this and that's the state of mind of a narcissist. Is always chaotic. It's always just wanting the next high, again with that analogy, because they have no sense of identity, so they're always using things, whether it's a person, place, or thing, to fill their sense of identity. And when you do that, your whole life has to be a lie, because it's never about yourself. It's always about, how do I get this thing I want, this person that I want, this object that I want. And you're gonna say, do, and just go anywhere to get those things. You become like some kind of weird it's hard to explain. You kind of become some kind of weird car salesman, where you're willing to say whatever it takes to make the sale. And the narcissist is basically selling themselves to other people. they productize themselves, and that is what happens during the beginning of the love bombing stage. They kind of read, because manipulators get pretty good at reading the cues of other people. That you can go into the whole thing about that being a trauma response, but they get really good at gauging what you need. And that's why when you first get love bombed by them, it seems like, oh, this is the perfect person for me. It's like God sent them down from heaven for me. It's because that's what they've read you pretty well, and now they're portraying that. They're like that car salesman again. Those analogies that you go into the dealership, and like us, if you're naive about narcissism and you meet one, or if you're naive about sales and you go into a car dealership, you're going to get taken to the cleaners. And that's what happened to you in your relationship. And that all comes from not having a solid sense of identity.